Okay, so I still wasn't able to stop thinking about Life is Strange Double Exposure in the now 28 some hours. I really don't know. It's been over a day and change since I finished playing it, and I still have so many thoughts. Once again, no Life is Strange game since the original has had me parsing out so many different theories, rabbit holes, thematic elements, and storytelling beats. None of them have ever quite come close to it. So once again, Double Exposure is truly a narrative craft in and of its own. Today's topic that I want to talk about is what I call the penultimate moments of three of the games, each with their own subtitles. In the original Life is Strange, you might know this as what I call this by is the Long Walk, which is the lead up from your internal shattered memory all the way up to your final confrontation at the lighthouse. We will also be talking about Play Your Part, which is the similar sort of penultimate sequence in Life is Strange True Colors, inside of Alex's mind as she's dying, and Eye of the Storm, which is the same final set sequence in Double Exposure, in which Max enters into the storm itself and Caledon's entire university is enveloped in the eye of the storm itself. So first and foremost, The Long Walk is one of my personal favorite narrative moments in video gaming. It is one of the most poignant scenes that I have ever played through, and is one of the things that gains gravity more and more on your repeat plays once you know what is coming. It is a self-reflection featuring elements of surreal horror scattered throughout, but its entire purpose is to link your entire gameplay experience to the final moment, forcing you to understand the weight of your choices. In this case, most specifically, the choice you make as to whether or not you save Arcadia Bay or Chloe. And the entire purpose of The Long Walk is to force you to remember everything that happened with Chloe in a nostalgic light. Narratively, it has the added benefit of Max repiecing what could be considered her shattered mind, and where I personally gained the theory that Max has attempted to try anything else to avert this choice hundreds of thousands of times, even though you as the player have not gone through it. This is before I ever watched Steins Gate, and so like when Steins Gate had that moment, chef's kiss. Very few moments in gaming have ever brought me something as close to that feeling or experience that The Long Walk gives me, except for the following two that I'm going to cover, which are their parallels in future games, which next comes the Play Your Part scene. Play Your Part is an extended dream sequence that begins and goes through Alex's entire life history and her own abandonment at the hands of her family, their own betrayals, and even her time in the orphanage. It culminates in a scene in which she is asked by the ghost of her brother to play her part and essentially relive some of the most traumatic memories of her childhood, including being unwanted by everyone that came to the orphanage. As opposed to The Long Walk, this is not a preparation for a choice you must make, but a realization of Alex's own internal struggles, her sense of worth, which she does not have, her feelings of abandonment, and moreover than anything else, it is meant to be extremely devastating. Rather than ask you to look forward into a choice you are about to make, what it does is now ask you to context every action that Alex has taken up to this point and put it under now the realization that she operates from a place of expecting abandonment. It lays bare every single one of her fears and traumas in a way that you were only barely able to access, even when some are hinted at along the way. Additionally, it carries one of my favorite spectral questions, which is the Gabe there a figment of your own imagination, or is it actually the ghost of your brother reaching back from beyond to help you like he always wanted to do and couldn't? Finally, this brings us to the most recent installment in Double Exposure, which I am calling the Eye of the Storm. Rather than be faced again with the choice of sacrificing one person on the behalf of hundreds of other people, Max decides to reject the duality, throws away the gun, and grabs Safi and takes her into the Eye of the Storm itself. What follows is both an homage to The Long Walk and the original choice, but also a different reflection asking you to think about different things. First and foremost, while The Long Walk is surreal horror, in which you know things just don't feel quite right, at a certain point in Eye of the Storm, you realize it is not surreal horror, but suspense horror. Whereas The Long Walk deals with poignancy and your own memory of what has passed, Eye of the Storm is an active forward pursuit, one of which you realize very quickly that you are not the only one caught up in. It is using your understanding of The Long Walk to rhyme with it, so you don't need to catch up to that moment, but instead, context it, able to move forward. Now, it is very important to note that the key difference between these two sequences is in the Eye of the Storm, Max is not alone. This touches a little bit on what I said in my prior video about Max's journey of Double Exposure, being able to let go of the traumas of her past. Max finds the strength to do that through the people that she cares about, because she finally realizes in seeing someone else process that guilt and not let it go, that she can choose to let other people in, to get help from many other people, to help bear the weight of her burden in the same way that she does for them. It is a huge moment about grief, but also about acceptance. Additionally, the sequence in which you go through to try and find the pieces of Safi and other people is another wonderful metaphorical reflection on grief itself. Moreover, it is a statement on what remains when you are gone. And in one of maybe the oldest truisms about loss is that when someone is gone, a piece of them still remains inside of you no matter what. But holding on to that piece too tightly, trying to grip it, keep it with you, and never let it go only hurts the both of you. Experiencing your feelings of grief, understanding it, these are both important things to moving past it. Moreover, in the final conversation with Safi herself, it starts to lean towards the idea that Safi understands that everyone needs to let her go. Now, what this suggested to me originally was that Safi was going to take the choice out of Max's hands. This idea that the duality only belonged to someone with control of it, when the person involved had a much stronger claim on that choice. I will talk more about that whole thing in a later video because I have many thoughts on that and the way the narrative turned out, but I digress in this point. We are still talking about what the thematic discussion on grief was in that scene. One of the clearest points about that was the Grey Motel. The Grey Motel sequence of The Eye of the Storm is Max on her road trip after either her breakup with Chloe or after Chloe's death. In this sequence, all of the different rooms, the motel rooms that Max was visiting in her trip, all look exactly the same, except in each new iteration, a piece of it loses dimension and flattens. Additionally, in every new step through, the colors drain out. Initially, this seems like an homage to the dorm room hallway bit of The Long Walk. However, the real purpose of this entire sequence is to illustrate the way that grief destroys. That when you do not process your grief, colors disappear, objects lose permanence, and over the time period that Max goes through this cycle over and over again, she also loses her own coherence and grip on reality and in fact wants to do nothing but sleep. That sound familiar to anyone who's ever gone through depression? It's a very, very pointed statement. Also truly states the depths of Max's feelings for Chloe in that no matter in which way you lose her, what it does to you is beyond devastating. Those of you who seem to think that this game is a slight on Max and Chloe's character simply by the action of having them break up, you need to understand what this scene shows about the depth of their feelings for each other. Or more specifically, for years without Chloe makes Max lose all sense of reality. Max's only escape from that in the sequence of Eye of the Storm is to remember that there are things that need to be done and to move forward. And the only way to do that is to let go of what has been.